Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into Helen's Daimones.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking fiction, really.
Okay. Yeah.
But just trust me on this one. The excerpts you shared,
Yeah.
they're more than just a story.
I think so.
They're like a launch pad
Yeah.
into some really interesting ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though it's a fantastical world, we can get a unique perspective on things like world building,
Yeah.
character development, and these surprisingly relatable themes.
Okay, so let's paint the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a world still reeling from this massive event, the splitting of the gallwim. So think of it like this wellspring of life and energy, and it just suddenly fractures,
Wow.
throwing everything into chaos. It unleashes this wave of destruction, warping the landscape, unleashing this thing called dyscrasia.
Dyscrasia? I mean, that's not just some, like random calamity. It's more like this pervasive imbalance woven into the fabric of their world.
Right.
And then on top of that, you've got these creepy wraiths roaming around, like ash and fog just blanketing everything.
Lindberg, he doesn't hold back on the imagery.
No, he does not. It's like he's taken all of our deepest fears about environmental collapse, societal unraveling, and just cranked them up to 11.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way that's both unsettling and captivating at the same time. Like we get these vivid descriptions, ash-covered landscapes, this eerie, choking fog, and then the wraiths themselves, these grotesque figures just haunting the ruins.
It's like looking at our darkest fears
Yeah.
through a distorted lens, and amid all of this chaos, we meet Helen and Sharon, two girls from completely different worlds, thrust together by circumstance.
Total opposites.
Yeah, you've got Helen, this resourceful kid, existing on the fringes of this ravaged world, almost oblivious to the danger.
Yeah.
And then there's Sharon, a young noble woman, fleeing the fallen city of Qual with her family.
Right. Completely different backgrounds.
Yeah, and their contrasting backstories.
Yeah.
Add such a fascinating layer to their interactions.
Definitely.
You can almost feel Sharon's anxiety. She's seen firsthand how fragile civilization is, clinging to her mother's warnings about the dangers lurking everywhere.
Right.
But Helen, on the other hand, she has this different kind of awareness, almost a naive boldness, because she's accustomed to the untamed wilderness.
And then Lindberg throws in those flesh-eating wasps.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about adding insult to injury, right? Like, he could have just said, the world is dangerous. But no, these wasps burrowing into people's flesh, pure nightmare fuel.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a brilliant example of how he brings the horror to life. It's visceral.
Yeah.
He doesn't just tell us. He makes us feel the danger, the decay that seeped into this world.
It's palpable.
Yeah, and that unsettling feeling. It sets the stage perfectly for what happens next.
Oh, for sure. And then Lindberg hits us with this storm.
Yeah, it's not just any storm, is it? It's like this sentient force of nature, just ripping through the remnants of their world. And it separates these two girls from their families.
Talk about a traumatic play date.
Right.
It's a brilliant move by Lindberg because it throws Helen and Sharon into this pressure cooker of a situation. They have to rely on each other, navigating this shattered world where even the line between imagination and reality is starting to blur.
Yeah. And speaking of blurred lines, this is where that whole concept of daimones comes in.
Right.
What stood out to you about how Lindberg introduces this element?
Honestly, it's how he doesn't explicitly define what daimones are.
Yeah.
They're not quite children,
Yeah.
not quite something else.
Right.
It's like they embody this strange, almost otherworldly energy unleashed by the splitting of the gallwim.
Exactly. And that ambiguity allows us to explore how trauma, imagination, and this new reality all intersect.
Right.
Take Helen, for instance. She sees the world through this lens of play and fantasy, even in the midst of all this devastation. Like when she insists on having a tea party with the fireflies.
Which Sharon calls lightning bugs. It's such a small detail. But it speaks volumes about their different upbringing.
It does.
But yeah, Helen's tea party. It's heartbreaking because you realize she's using that playfulness as a shield against the darkness around her.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole aspect of the pyre and the animated sprites.
The pyre, it's not just a bonfire, is it?
No.
It feels symbolic, like a focal point for their grief and hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you make of the connection between donating art to the pyre and the creation of these sprites?
It's like art in this world. It isn't just about expression. It's almost a form of magic, this act of creation, of giving something to the pyre. It literally births these sprites that go out into the world. It makes me think about how art can have this ripple effect.
Yeah.
offering connection or even a flicker of hope in dark times. Did you see it that way too?
Oh, absolutely. It's like this beautiful cycle, art born from darkness, offering this glimmer of light and connection.
Yeah.
And that idea of hope, it seems really central to the novel, even in the face of so much loss.
Right.
What do you think Lindberg is trying to say about that kind of resilience?
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is it about the human spirit that clings to hope, even when surrounded by devastation?
It's a good question.
And this is where Helen's story, it takes another interesting turn, that ending, with her wish.
It's not just some whimsical daydream. It felt like a powerful statement to me.
It really did, especially when you contrast Helen's wish with the society developing inside the keep.
Right.
They're trying to rebuild, but it's all about control, strict rules, almost suffocating order.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Helen, this girl who's still yearning for something more, something magical and free.
It's like Lindberg is highlighting this tension between control and freedom, order and chaos.
You can't help but draw parallels to our own world.
Exactly. Think about how we grapple with those same tensions, that desire for security versus the need for individual expression.
It's like he's asking, can you really cage hope? Can you impose order on something as wild and unpredictable as the human spirit?
That's a tough one.
And he doesn't give us any easy answers.
Oh, it does.
Which makes it even more thought-provoking. Helen's Daimones. It doesn't preach. It invites you to explore these questions. Through the characters and their experiences, you might even find yourself relating to Helen's struggle, that yearning to break free from expectations and embrace the unknown.
For sure.
Well, if you're looking for a story that will stay with you long after you finish it, I highly recommend checking out Helen's Daimones.
I second that.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those imaginations fired up.